And I'll also share the screen, the notes on it. Hopefully without locking us on. Alrighty. Thanks everyone for joining. Obviously we haven't had a meeting in about a month at this point. So a couple of open things on the agenda here. The two merged PRs, I think, because this query is inclusive, I think we actually touched on prior to the break. One of them I know is going to be the routes, which merged, and then there was a cleanup of an environment variable, which, if I remember correctly, might have been to do with the tenant ID. I'm not 100% sure in that particular one. There was a third PR, which the reason I have this separately here, we didn't actually have the SIG OpenStack tag on this one, so it doesn't come up in the queries, but that forcibly detach an attached sender volume before we attach it somewhere else. That also merged, I believe. All right. So in terms of the open stuff, there are a couple more queries here than there were before. So just to explain myself on that one. These first two open PRs, open issues, are for the Kubernetes repository, and then also just a dumb query of the features repository. Probably an open question for folks to think about as things get split up more is whether there are other repositories we need to be keeping an eye on. So for example, you can imagine the obvious one will be if or when the cloud provider stuff gets split out into separate repos. But that's the type of thing, just from a tracking point of view, we need to think about. All right, so I'll open this one up. Sorry for the delay here. The screen sharing is not playing particularly well for me.
Yeah, I can send a blank screen.
Okay. Let me see if I can kill the share then, because that may not be doing as much good anyway.
I can share my screen actually, if you have some issues.
Yeah, maybe if we try that.
Just a second.
On my end, it looks like it's working, but you can tell it's really lagging up the client.
So do you see my screen now?
Yes, sorry.
Yeah.
Okay. I can see your screen.
All right, if you just want to pop open that OpenPRs 7 link first, I'll just look at what's there. So I think most of these have been bouncing around for a fair while. Adapting the load balancer, deleting, updating when using cloud provider in OpenStack Liberty. Is that still that same thing that was an issue that we're trying to get in a while ago, Angus? It's just still outstanding, or is this something different?
I see that Angus has been here as a reviewer. Are you online?
Yeah, the same thing we've fixed a few times now. There was another, it got fixed in the create path, but this fixes it in the delete path for load balancers, if I remember which way around it is.
Yeah, I can also see that there were some like administrative issues with CNCF CLA this guy
Yeah,
submitted it.
it got stuck in the middle of that transition to the other signing thing.
Yeah.
We should get this in, urgently. It should be backported even. That's how urgent it is. But, these things don't go quickly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually targeted 1.5 as I can see, but like 1.5 is released, so it is 7.
Do we have a process for getting into, because I know we do point releases for 1.5. How do I make something go onto a point release for 1.5 rather than into master?
You mean like to backport?
Yeah. How do I make it go on to 1.5.9 or whatever the next one is?
Well, I'm not familiar with that process, but I can clarify and update here getting it.
That would be good, because
as far as I remember, Jess Frazel is like the release manager for 1.5 release since it has been released, like the patch release manager. So I will reach her and discuss.
So we have this one for here, and then the earlier version of this same thing should have gone on to 1.4, but didn't. And so we had people who were deleting all their load balances of 1.4, even though we knew about it and had the fix that had gone on to master.
Yeah, okay.
Anyway, so yeah, this is the last one of these, and I've done a big grep around the source code, and I'm pretty sure there's no other parts of this code that need to be fixed up the same way. The fundamental problem is still that one of the filters gets ignored in Neutron Liberty when you search for, I can't remember which round, I think it's the listeners on the load balancer or something like that. It gives you all of them instead of just the ones unique for that load balancer. So then the Kubernetes code merrily goes off and deletes all of them instead of just the ones for that load balancer.
Yeah, makes sense. I just made a quick note in the meeting minutes about the backport discussion as well. So Igor, if you can follow up on that, just to find out exactly what we need to do there, like labeling wise in particular or anything like that to get this on that tracker.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, the second one, authentication on Keystone v3.
Yeah, it's also kind of fresh PR. So 105 time frame.
Yeah, this one I don't know much about. I've read through it, but I've sort of been ignoring all the Keystone ones. There's not really
Yeah, I got a little bit lost on this debate here about the user domain format.
Oh, it's just pointless. The patch started off following the user @ domain syntax, and then someone else came back and said, no, it should be domain/name, more like traditional Windows.
I think it's a deeper problem than that. Keystone really is not about usernames and passwords, but it's about authorization. And people keep proposing patches to fit username password authentication against Keystone to Kubernetes, and it kind of says what Keystone is about. Keystone is one place where a cloud admin can log in and set up projects and associate users with roles with projects.
So you think Keystone has no role here as an authentication provider?
I think it fits the authentication provider plugin mechanism for tokens. So you authenticate with Keystone, you get a token, and you give that to Kubernetes, which gives it back to Keystone and says, "Is this a valid user?" And then it gets back.
Okay.
And then it gets back here's the 3 projects he's a member of and what roles he has on that project. And then authorization uses that.
Okay, so we shouldn't authenticate through here. We should authenticate directly to Keystone, get the token, and pass the token through to the Kubernetes API.
Yeah, because Keystone, they're trying to get out of the authentication business because there's lots of different ways to do it. They support Keystone single sign or Kerberos single sign-on. They support Shibboleth and a bunch of other non-passwordy ways of doing things.
That would make sense as long as the token doesn't expire. or we give it some way to refresh the I don't think there's a way to refresh. I don't think there's a mechanism within Kubernetes to refresh a token that involves the user in that path.
Right, and I don't know if there is
So you would need a way to give a
a
refresh
permanent
token
way.
to Kubernetes.
So what they usually do for that is, if you have an account that needs to be long running, you make a kind of a service account that you make a new domain and you put your service accounts in there, and then you can give them usernames and passwords, and you
that
can
would
create
fit
what
how
are
so the GKE to Google is similar, right? You have to create a service account if you want long-lived Google credentials.
Yeah. And there's a way to associate one account with another service account, so a service account can become a delegated user.
Okay. So what does that mean for this patch? We need to basically ignore it, hope it goes away, or come back and say we think the whole approach is wrong? What do we want to do with this patch?
Sounds like the later was the discussion we just had.
Yeah, so I think it would be valuable if you could add something on there, because clearly this isn't my
Okay.
area of expertise and other people's. Yeah,
Yeah, I'll write something up.
that would be wonderful. Thank you.
Okay, the next one, right?
Yeah.
The node name in OpenStack hit provider.
Yeah, this is pretty minor from memory.
Yeah, it's like
The default envar there has capitals in it, which at the moment I think we fail elsewhere in Kubernetes.
Oh, that's a bit silly. Yeah, there is. I came across a different version of the same thing inside the Kubernetes code. There's a few places where it's assumed that the host names are lowercase, even though, of course, in DNS host names are case insensitive. But there's a few places in Kubernetes where it does a naive string compare and assumes that they're lowercase. So I had to put at least one force this string to lowercase somewhere in the Kubernetes code.
Yeah, it seems like there may be other instances that out there. I think, in the short term, just patching this here is also fine, to be honest. But
yep.
Okay.
I don't think this is really hung up on anything, though. It's just waiting.
Well, so like we can confirm that this one can be merged, right? This one that I have close to order.
Yeah.
So there's no objections here. Okay, the next one is SIG prefix parameter.
Yeah, so
I suppose we have discussed it.
Yeah, did they actually sign the CLA in the end? Sorry, I'm just catching up.
Yeah.
Yeah, it looks like it's still outstanding. So again, on face value, relatively trivial, but I think the hold up here is the CLA check as much as anything else.
Yeah, and after that we have to follow. I suppose we have to like remind this guy to check his CLA.
That said, I'm not sure anyone's really reviewed this from a technical perspective. I'm not sure how much.
You mean like from Kubernetes technical perspective or from OpenStack technical perspective?
Well, it's part of the Kube up script, so it's more does this make sense in the context of putting Kube on top of OpenStack? Yeah, if you dive into it, what they're getting at is prefixing the Swift container so that you can have multiple of these set up on the one Swift object store. All right, I think we'll probably just move on from that unless anyone has a screaming objection.
Yeah.
Who's going to review that further then after this meeting?
Angus, are you speaking about this one?
No,
the
Swift one.
Oh, okay.
It's currently assigned to eParis and Steve.
Yeah, I think that's currently just the default assignment.
Yeah, but we may discuss with him like the further steps. Also, we need like some technical review from our side, right?
Well, yeah, I guess what I'd like to trace back is folks who originally contributed the KubeUp stuff. It's this OpenStack heap directory.
Yeah.
I'm more involved in reviewing updates to it.
Okay. No, I just wanted someone. I mean, what are we doing? Are we just going to come back to this in 2 weeks' time with nothing changed?
Yeah, I suppose it's a good suggestion to reach the guys who developed the KubeUp scripts for OpenStack Heat, like guys from Fujitsu.
Yeah, so I'll find out who that was again and get the handles and ping them.
Yeah.
The Go for Cloud one, there's nothing interesting in there. It's just a thing replace, and there's a few places the API changed, but not in any sort of functional ways. The problem is that the GoDeps sort of top file are hotly contended. So every time it gets far enough to actually pass the CI bots, then there's a merge conflict again, and you've got to start again. So it's already had one LGTM and several rounds. I'll just have to keep going.
I see that some guy like mentioned you is like the progress, PR progress.
Yeah, I saw that one yesterday. I'll have to follow up and see what it is. He hasn't done a pull request against my thing, so I have to actually do a diff between the trees or something.
Oh, okay. So we're done with this here?
Yeah, there's nothing to discuss here. I just need to keep busy looping on it.
Okay. Well, the old PR from Quentin is the Cinder volume.
Yeah, where did this end? Was there anything actually wrong with this in the end? It got rewritten a bit early on.
I didn't think so. I thought it got looks good to me in here somewhere.
Yeah, I suppose that it's stuck with Sadly from SIG storage team. So we have to reach him. You can probably assign this item for me as well. I will discuss that with Sad directly.
Yeah, I'll add a note in the meeting minutes now.
Has there been any response from Sada Lee on there? I'm just trying to...
No response. Like the final word was from Quentin where he requested.
Yeah, I would suggest actually reaching out to the SIG email list probably.
And change the assignee to someone.
Okay. So the next one, right?
This one, yeah. So this one, I think we concluded in the end that we wanted to do this. This was, that's right. No, it got merged. Aha. So that's right. I recreated this as my own one because it needed to be rebased. So I created a new version of this, which has since been merged. You can see at the bottom there.
Right, that makes sense. I was wondering why I'd managed to end up with it on both lists.
Okay,
Yeah,
so should we close the previous one?
This particular one should be closed. 33734 should be closed. Yep.
Okay.
I don't know if we can do that, can we? Oh, you can. Look at that. You've got a closed pull record.
I can.
Yeah.
Three 39055.
Yeah.
Yep. Cool.
Yeah, so that's all from the pull requests in the Kubernetes main repo. So issues also in the main Kubernetes repo.
Yeah, so I don't know if we want to go through all of these or just someone holler if there's something in particular that they've been following might be a better approach.
Yeah, I agree. So
There's some of these going back a long way. We should probably just expire a whole bunch.
should probably like chrome them offline after the meeting.
Yeah, Igor, if you want to join me and we'll take another chop at that. I had already, I think, pinged a number of reporters with a kind of, hey, are you still seeing this or not? But we can probably go back through them and close.
Yeah, let's do it. So the next step is Kubernetes features requests. Actually, I'm tracking all the features requests for Kubernetes itself, so I'm aware of this stuff. Actually, daemon set updates is that was being done by the guy from my team. So the code base was prepared itself during the 1.5 iteration, but the core reviewers had zero bandwidth to review it finally to be merged into 1.5. So the daemon set updates moved to 1.6, and actually like OpenStack is like the secondary SIG. The primary SIG for this one is SIG, so this mostly targets the goals of SIG apps.
What's the overlap here with OpenStack at all? Why is there any OpenStack relationship with this one?
Well, it's like kind of indirect because we had OpenStack relationship like the final goal for. So eventually, this feature was developed to enable ability to run OpenStack on Kubernetes.
Okay.
Speaking about Kubernetes code base itself, it targets SIG apps, but OpenStack has to be the main consumer of this feature, one of the main consumers.
Gotcha. Yeah, no, I didn't realize that was the driving feature.
Yeah, the other aspect is that my query for the features repository is pretty dumb at the moment because we aren't using the label in there yet.
Well, we are using the label. You're speaking about SIG OpenStack label?
Yeah.
We are using that label, but
well, for the daemon set updates, there's no such label on there. It's obviously picking it up.
Yeah, because like
right.
SIG apps is a SIG that backups this.
No, that's what I'm saying. The search for the features repo is just a dumb word search at the moment. Stop searching on the label, the one that's coming out.
So it's finding the mention in the progress tracker description text there rather than in the actual label.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is fine and similar to the one we're looking. Yeah.
The same story with the cloud provider. So SIG cluster lifecycle is the primary SIG that performs this work, but SIG AWS, SIG OpenStack, I don't remember, SIG Windows probably. So it's SIG Network, SIG Store, SIG AWS, SIG OpenStack are the consumers of this feature. So that's why we're interested in this one as well. So
yes. They're
Hmm?
aiming for Alpha 1.6. Ah, interesting. Okay.
Yeah. So SIG cluster lifecycle is going to prepare for 1.6. So we're done with this, I suppose. Yeah, we have 0 issues with docs.
Yeah, I know for a fact that that's not true, but there's none tracked, so I guess that's positive.
Well, actually, SIG docs team has been performing the huge fix-it sessions during this week, like at the beginning of this week. They closed like a few hundred issues in the docs repo. So if they haven't assigned any issues with SIG OpenStack label, that means that like 0 issues are related to OpenStack itself.
Yeah, I was being a little facetious because I think the bigger issue is that we don't actually have OpenStack docs in there for there to be issues with in many places. That's okay. Right. So in terms of the next thing on there, the 2017 goal setting, I didn't really want to dig into that too much on the call, but I did just send an email earlier today kind of floating the idea of doing this. So just based on what I saw the SIG AWS folks doing in terms of writing down a couple of things that are goals for the year, and also spitballing a few ideas for that. So I am interested in the thoughts of folks on the call, either now or via email on the idea of doing this in the first place, and then on just potential things that they see as important to focus on.
Yeah, so a few items that are interesting for me that we may discuss right now. So speaking about federated testing, I suppose that we may discuss it in the mailing list and receive some and grow some discussion and receive some feedback from the whole community. I'm not sure that we are ready to discuss it right now with so limited audience. Speaking about the owner for cloud provider OpenStack, so probably Steve, you may provide here more details.
Yeah, so I think Angus has mentioned in the past that it's not really his primary role anymore, and I think there was another maintainer listed there who hadn't really been active in quite some time, and I think Angus or someone else had fixed up the file recently. So Angus is the sole maintainer listed there. But that still leaves us, pretty low, and with only one person to review changes, who's also one of the primary drivers of the number of changes that are still out there in terms of open PRs. We definitely, from one of the contributing organizations, need someone who's going to be focused on kind of growing into that space as well, I think. Do you have anything to add there, Angus?
No, that covers it. So yeah, that, and the big thing that I've failed to do is testing. Running a integration test, and again, the reason why that really hasn't happened is because no company has stepped forward to provide infrastructure to run the tests on, since I no longer work for a company that has OpenStack clouds.
Hi, this is Chris Hodge from the OpenStack Foundation, and I know that running end-to-end tests on top of Kubernetes on top of OpenStack is actually something we'd like to see as a goal for 2017. So I can collaborate with some of the executive staff here in the foundation and try to get my hands on some hardware for testing. So I may be able to help out with testing infrastructure.
It would be great. Yeah, I remember that you have highlighted that in one of the threads. So as far as I remember, Aaron from SIG testing has volunteered for that stuff. So I suppose we may collaborate with SIG testing on performing integrations.
Yeah, I was going to talk with kind of the SIG testing group about this too. And I have to apologize. I'm very, very new to Kubernetes development. So if I make any mistakes or step on anybody's toes, please feel free to offer me guidance and suggestions on how to best get started. I'll turn my camera on so you can all see my face out there.
Yeah, that would be cool. So yeah, it's just getting someone to step up to do development work and someone possibly the same or a different person to step up and work on the testing sort of setup. They're the big dangers, I think, facing the OpenStack plugin at the moment.
Yeah. There is an OpenStack end-to-end plugin? Or that, no, doesn't it? Okay. Yeah.
There's some simple little Go unit tests, and that's it.
Okay.
Everything else is just cross your fingers and merge.
Okay. Yeah. So that'd be nice, and I'll talk to the staff here and see what we can come up with. Do you have an idea of what the basic level of resources might be to have something like that? Like what would be?
Just a dev stack. So like even one host.
Okay, I can do that.
We can then run this against, because what we're missing is actually exercising the real API and getting back real responses.
Yeah.
And then some of the actual semantic behaviors. So for example, the bug where we deleted all load balancers would have been noticed
much earlier.
A real neutron that really behaved like a real Liberty neutron, that probably would have been noticed much earlier.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Cool. Thanks.
No worries.
I had another question too. I don't know if this is the right spot for it. Or I can ask it once we're done talking about 2017 goals too, if you want to.
Yeah, probably let's discuss it after this topic. If it's not related to like 2017 goals, Chris.
No, it's related to another SIG.
Okay, so let's discuss it after this one.
Okay.
So speaking about Hello World on OpenStack, yeah, it's a really important item. At the same time, I have noticed that Kelsey Hightower had prepared a set of like instructions, like Kubernetes the hard way for AWS and GCE, and one guy like from their external contributor has proposed also their Kubernetes the hard way for OpenStack. So probably we may kind of review it and use it in the OpenStack in the Kubernetes upstream.
Yeah, I think it's not necessarily that the content doesn't exist either. It's more of a making sure that we're working with the SIG docs works, especially now that they've restructured the content on Kubernetes.io to make sure that it's easy to find kind of the getting started path with OpenStack, or as easy as to find the other ones.
Yeah. Because like, especially in the Slack channel, we may notice that many new people asking us, where is the guideline? Like, where should I get started from it, and so on.
Right. And even with the kube scripts, there's a lot of people who would come in there who are hitting various issues or trying to configure things and asking questions. So it seems like there is a gap there from a docs perspective.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so speaking about rotating SIG leadership, so Steve.
Yeah, so I put that on there just, there's a lot of stuff going on in terms of the contributor experience in particular, and making it easier for folks to get various levels where they can do things like change the labels, close issues and so on, and close PRs for that matter. So I mainly have been acting in a facilitation role here. I think this is pretty tightly linked to the growing a maintainer owner for the code, because ultimately, ideally, it's the same person. But I just wanted to highlight, that's something we need to discuss is where we go in terms of if anyone wants to facilitate or lead the SIG in future, and how we go about transitioning that.
I was speaking about replacing at all the SIG leads, or are you speaking about growing some person that will help me with you?
So I think replacing. That's not to say that we would magically disappear and stop helping. But I can continue to help out with facilitating. But I think from the way a lot of the stuff in terms of the contributor experience, how folks want to manage the permissions and everything, it makes more sense if the SIG lead is someone who's actively contributing specifically to the code, not necessarily documentation or any of the stuff around the edges. But that's just the impression I get. And also, I'm just mindful of the fact that there's a number of folks in the group, and there's no reason that just like an OpenStack PTL role, we can't rotate it. So different people can offer what they have in the space.
Yeah. At the same time, we are performing more administrative job, not a code-based contribution. Let's see.
Yeah.
We may discuss it. Yeah.
There is a large element of that, and it does seem to be growing. So I think it still makes sense probably to have multiple people if possible.
Yeah. Well, I suppose we may start discussing that in spring during KubeCon and OpenStack Summit. We actually have another items in our agenda to discuss this event, so I suppose we may run something like the public discussions, not elections, but more public discussions, debates, and so on with the community. Possibly there will be some candidates to hold these roles.
Yeah.
And speaking about the OpenStack Summit too, we're planning on the OpenStack Foundation is planning on hosting kind of a related event at the same time as the summit, where we're going to be inviting different open source projects to kind of come and have space to collaborate and work. And we have an invitation that's extended out to the CNCF and to the Kubernetes community. And so you should definitely be keeping your eyes open on that too, because there will be an entire day's worth of space available to different open source projects. And so, it would be absolutely no problem getting that space for the OpenStack Kubernetes SIG, to kind of have that dedicated discussion and development space. So just kind of a heads up on that.
There's also the PTG. Is there anything happening there?
That I don't know. That's I think that if I don't think there is, and if we kind of wanted to become involved in that, I think the best avenue would be to try to get some space, perhaps for the COLA team. But if it's something that
we're going to be there.
Yeah, so if it's something that you want more space in, I could also ask around, and I think we have surplus available.
Okay.
Actually, are there any other people who are going to be present at PTG? Because I'll be there, and I'm going to. Yeah, so I'm going to be a representative of Kubernetes SIG. So probably we may also run some small, not event, but any activities related to Kubernetes as well.
Yeah, I'll be there with an eye on. I'll be mostly working on interoperability issues, but I'm also planning on doing Kubernetes work while I'm there. And I'll be there till Friday afternoon. I leave Friday at noon around.
Mm-hmm. Okay, get it.
And I'll be there all week, so.
Yeah, that's great. I suppose we may sync and discuss. Steve, are you going to be at PTG as well?
I won't be at the PTG. I will be at the OpenStack Summit. KubeCon is probably a 50-50 at the moment.
Okay, got it.
Yeah, I'll be at KubeCon.
Yeah, that's awesome. I suppose we may start working on the areas where can we highlight our presence in these events. Yeah.
Sorry, with the OpenStack Summit, I think you had added it to the agenda, but did what Chris was putting forward there answer your question? I think what I'm hearing is that there'll be dedicated space via that mechanism, and we don't necessarily need to apply for a separate SIG meetup or anything like that this time.
Yeah, I mean, there are so many. I mean, we're just starting to send the prospectuses out right now to invite these organizations to it, and I'd be happy to email it to anyone in the SIG or post it so that you can kind of see what we're talking about. You know, it's something that we've just been finalizing the structure and the implications and the kind of the pitch for today, but we very much want to have a feel of like if you're an open source project, which is, you know, even loosely related to OpenStack in some way, we kind of want to give people who are contributing to those projects, maybe outside of the OpenStack, you know, development model, a space to kind of get together and work on things. So it's very much, you know, trying to build the spirit of collaboration, and so we want to build a very welcoming environment, and the OpenStack SIG for Kubernetes is definitely welcome to space there.
Okay. Thanks for that, Chris. And then Igor, for KubeCon EU, do you know if they're doing dev days or anything like that again? Because I know there was a bit of confusion last time as to how things should work.
You're speaking about Kubernetes Developer Summit?
Yeah. So last time around, I think that came up fairly late in the game, but I'm assuming that the planning might have happened already this time.
Well, we are not going to have Kubernetes Developer Summit in scope of KubeCon. At the same time, it will be like a bit separate event, and as I have discussed it with Sarah Novotny, this event will happen during DonkeyCon in Austin in April. So there's going to be Kubernetes Developer Summit or Kubernetes Leadership Summit. Sarah hasn't any detailed information, but she described this event in brief, so it has to be like approximately the same as we had in November in Seattle with Kubernetes Dev Summit.
Okay. Okay, so that proposal from the CNCF then, is that just you know, as you have there, a thorough kind of meet and greet type situation?
I'm sorry?
So you mentioned, I think, in the notes that there's a proposal for a birds of a feather session from the CNCF.
Yeah. There was a brief, there was like the short proposal from some person from CNCF in CNCF Slack channel that, let me find it in the code. So Dan Miller would like to see some additional BOF spaces during the event during KubeCon, including Kubernetes with OpenStack, with storage, and with networking. So I suppose we are going to cover BOF for OpenStack at KubeCon. So, and it would be great if we run this.
Yep, fair enough. All right, just keep us posted on anything else that comes up there, I guess. Okay. So I think technically we're over time at this point, but does anyone have anything else they would like to raise?
Yeah, I just earlier today there was the Kubernetes SIG on-prem meeting, and one of the things that kind of popped up out in the meeting notes, and I wasn't at the meeting, so I didn't hear exactly what's going on, but they said that Kubernetes on OpenStack is out of scope for that SIG, and I was wondering if anybody had any insight as to why that might be.
So I'll give you kind of my understanding, and then others can disagree. So my understanding is that I think eBay in particular talked about this at the last KubeCon, is that there are a number of folks who are using Kubernetes, which on a variety of platforms, not just OpenStack, but where it could be bare metal, it could be OpenStack, it could be VMware, it could be AWS for that matter, but are not using the cloud provider plumbing of Kubernetes in that situation. So they're effectively separate environments almost. Does anyone else have a different take?
Well, I've been attending the SIG on-prem meeting today, and we have agreed. So I've been present there and I requested it. So I would like them not to overlap with SIG OpenStack. So we are ready to collaborate with them, and we are like kind of friendly SIG. At the same time, as far as I understood, they have a bit different focus, and it's mostly that focus that you, Steve, have described. So, yeah.
Their scope is providerless, is it? Whatever the no cloud provider plugin?
Yeah, I guess that's the way I'd frame it. So, they don't use. So, again, I was mostly talking to the eBay folks about this, and this was, I think, some of the discussions that led into the creation of the on-prem thing. But they don't specify the provider at all. So they are running Kubernetes on OpenStack in that particular case, but they're not using any of that cloud provider plumbing to connect to the backends.
So it's really a bare metal SIG. It's just not necessarily actually bare metal.
Yeah, exactly. There was a lot of debate about the naming, just due to the overloading of bare metal.
Okay.
Yeah, like the initial name of the SIG was SIG bare metal, and after that they have decided to extend a bit the role of the SIG to SIG
on-prem, which is just differently misnamed. Yes. Okay, that makes sense. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. Thanks. Yeah, thanks for clarifying that. We wondered about it. We wondered about overlap or if it was something like that, but we didn't have the information ahead of us. So yeah, thanks for helping me understand that.
Yeah, another request that I had today, they are also going to have bi-weekly meetings, and we have agreed that they will have yet another Wednesday from SIG OpenStack. So like one week we'll have SIG OpenStack meeting, and the next week we'll have SIG on-premises meeting.
Okay, that's cool.
All right, just to a note there for future time travelers. Okay, I didn't have anything else. So unless there's any further questions, I think we'll probably call it a day. Oh, the meeting time, of course. How do we skip that? Okay, so just quickly, I did get 9 responses on the meeting poll. All of the times are bad times, surprise. The closest we got was a handful of slots where we got only, in quotes, 3 respondents who couldn't make it. And those are listed there. So I don't know. Obviously, the group on this call are probably going to be the ones that are biased towards the later times in the day, the 2100, 2200 time slots that we already sit in. My other suggestion would be whether we want to try alternating between, say, one of those 1400 slots and the 2100 slots to see if we get better attendance at that earlier time slot.
Yeah, probably we may try like once and once or twice. Yeah, and after that we'll decide which one is better. But if we have like good attendance at this time right now, so.
Yeah, it did seem from the sponsors like it was kind of an even split between those two options with no clear winner. Okay, I'll send an email about that just with a time for the next one and try out one of those earlier times. All right. Thanks everyone for your time, and I will add a recording link to the notes once I get the download.